I'm good to go.
All right. All right. Like I said, I still haven't really figured out the world map for things. I know where we're starting this, but the reasons why you are going here to begin with is I'll leave that up to you all to decide. And I think what we talked about last time when we sat down was that at some point in the past, you have all met each other and then formed a group. So this happened between level 0 and level 1. So now that we're starting at level 1, all of you know each other and traveling as a group. And that backstory and the reason for all of you hanging out together is something we can explore in flashbacks in other capacities. But I figured it made more sense to have it be that way rather than everyone just randomly sit around in a tavern somewhere and you do the usual awkward thing for 3 hours. Nothing's in particular happened.
All right, so I was, reading through something just now, and just to be sure, so we're basically starting off in a tavern, and we're all in the same area already. Was that what you said?
No, I said we're not doing that.
Oh, my bad. Okay, yeah, I was transfixed by this. My background. I was trying to read through and get an idea of how to hook myself into the campaign, and then I heard only the part that I shouldn't have heard from what you said.
Basically, and I understand, I know that the quality of my connection isn't the best either, so that probably doesn't help. But what I said was that, like we discussed last week, was that or the week before, was that all of you know each other. So you met at some point from level 0 to level 1, and you decided to group together. And why that is, and the reasons for it and such, that's something we can explore in flashbacks and stuff like that. But instead of doing the usual boring thing where everyone doesn't know each other and then we spend 3 hours in a tavern somewhere just awkwardly figuring that shit out, I figured we start with something different.
Sounds good to me. Honestly, like I don't know what you have prepared, but with D&D, it's one of those games where I'd be fine with us just being dropped at the mouth of a cave, but I'm down with whatever you have planned.
So I think I have a couple of questions first for the part, and we can figure out who wants to do what here. So at least one of you know someone in the port city of Cinderport in the Free Realm. And this contact, or in whatever relationship that is, have told you that have told you to, for whatever reason, to come here, to travel here, and help out with something that they need help with. So who wants to have this contact? And What kind of relationship would that be with this person?
I could potentially have this contact. My character is a hired killer with many criminal contacts. I don't know if that links in here or not, but that's the type of work that I normally do. Whether or not I'm a good fit for being associated with him is up to you, I think. Unless someone else wants to do it.
I mean, I took criminal as well, so it's the same for me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't take that. So y'all have fun.
All right. So, by the sounds of it, maybe it's something like also you know this person in Cinderport who have asked you to bring your crew and do a job for them that requires your special talents. So that's why you're traveling there. Could that work with all of you?
That sounds good to me.
Works for me.
All right. So I think yeah, that's a good enough starting point. We can explore that further later. Unless there is anything you want to add to this right now, but that's a good starting point. So, real quick about the world. Um, there are 9 kingdoms in the world, in the known world at least. And then there is a land to the north uh, of the known world that doesn't have any form of official government or any form of official ruler that is known as the free realm. And unlike the others, other kingdoms and empires, this one doesn't officially have any real justice system. So it's more might makes right. And to balance that, there is a lot of clerical orders who and crusaders who impose their own brand of justice to the evildoers of the realm. So it's completely possible that what is perfectly legal in one town might be outlawed for whatever arbitrary reason in another town because of the who is in charge of that town or city. But there are a few common across the realm. And this is also where the last king of the free realm reigned here roughly 500 years ago after they and someone named the Godslayer conquered one of the old dragon gods who had taken up residence here in one of the mountain kingdoms of the fallen dwarven kingdom. And that is common knowledge. That's why the realm isn't really, I think that's why the realm isn't really, and any other kingdoms have, and any other monarchs and ruler have tried to retake this land because of the reverence for the past deeds of the God Slayer. So this land became the free realm because of that. So I think we start with all of you slowly coming to consciousness again. And as you all open your eyes, you are all laying face first in the sand on one of the beaches. It is dark outside. It's late evening, early night. The moon is out, so there is some light at least, though it's hard to see. It's dim light condition. You are all soaking wet. And as you sit up and take stock of your surrounding, you see there is tons of debris washed up on shore. The wind is blowing fairly hard. And the last thing you all remember was that you were traveling across the water, the lake, the ocean rather, to get to Cinderport. And there was a storm. And the ship you were sailing on were having a hard time compensating for the storm front that you were traveling in. You all still have all of the equipment with you, and you see there is a couple of other people laying on the beach alongside you. So what do you wish to do?
Well, I think that Otto will sort of jerk upright as he regains consciousness and look around, see all of the sort of rubbish strewn along. I assume it's sort of a sandy beach that we're on.
Yeah, sandy beach, and it's dim lighting in here, so it's hard to see. But the moon is giving enough light so you don't fall down in anything immediately terrible.
Yeah, and so he, Otto being mostly a city sort of person for this time period, he uses his brain and his zero in survival, sort of thinks, well, what should I do in this situation? And the logical course of action would be to look for coconuts. So are there any coconuts around here?
Roll a perception check. You see a crate partially broken open by the storm that has some coconut-shaped objects in it. Not too far away from where you were sitting or standing.
Already hit pay dirt. I will begin securing the crate as my companions, I assume, wake up.
So what are the other two doing as Otto is securing the coconut crate?
Morthos is going to roll onto his back, slowly sit up and start patting himself down, make sure nothing's missing. And then as he sees Otto grabbing coconuts, he's gonna call out, "You better have rum to mix with that."
Yeah.
I'm going to be slowly sitting up, bitching at whoever spiked the mead last night.
Yep. Are we the only three that I can see on the beach?
There are a handful of other people as well, or bodies at least. You don't know if they are alive or they have perished in the storm.
All right. So I'll look at Morthos, and I'll say, yeah, how much do you remember? I think I had a bit too much to drink last night.
What would that be for trying to remember?
I think just an intelligence check, honestly.
Apparently, I remember a lot.
Yeah, so essentially what happened was that the ship was sailing through an area with a lot of underwater reefs, and the storm front were hitting at a bad time. So the strong winds blew the ship, of course. And yeah, the last thing you remember from before you fell asleep was essentially the deckhands shouting at the captain, and the captain shouting orders to the deckhands to try to steer clear from the reefs and turn the ship around in a way that wouldn't hit anything.
I'm gonna tell him that our ship had a fight with Mother Nature and she won.
Ah, I see. Well, I've secured a large box of coconuts that should last us at least a fortnight, but I've never eaten coconuts before, or do you drink them? I don't understand. How do these things work?
Yeah, if you break it carefully enough, you can drink.
Oh, I see. Well, I'll maybe pack away 4 of them into my backpack and into wherever I keep all my thieves' tools and everything, and begin looking around to see if there's any sign of civilization near this beach.
I'm going to start walking around and checking the people who washed up on the beach.
All right. Is there anything specific you're checking for?
Well, mainly if they're breathing.
Yeah, I think you come across 4 of them that are still alive and relatively intact. And then there is one you see who has a piece of a wood plank impaled through the chest that has been floating ashore and laying on his side. Seems like a human by the looks of it. Pale skin, dark gray eyes, and just glossed over. So he's probably been dead for a few hours at least. There is, you notice there is at least one deckhand that's floated ashore as well seems to be unconscious, if not, on the brink of death.
I'm gonna sit there and see if I can attempt to help him not die.
All right, that sounds like a medicine check. Unless you are you a fighter, or a cleric, by the way? I think maybe we should have gone through that. Yeah, you manage to you take a bit of time and you manage to stabilize this person, this deckhand. So he's not gonna die, at least. At least not from whatever he has suffered from, and you manage to get all the water out from his lungs. So he's gonna survive unless a crab or something comes up and start dragging him into the water again.
Okay.
So I think it's currently not raining, but the wind is fairly strong here on the beach, and it's probably maybe 40 to 50 feet from the beach where the forest starts. If you wish to find shelter from the wind, and like I said, all of you are like drenched in all your clothing and equipment are drenched, and it's getting fairly cold with the biting wind. They're reducing the temperature quite a lot.
Yeah, I'll definitely make my way up the beach and have a look around, at least at the edge of the forest, and see if I can take shelter and see anything that looks like an animal trail or human path or anything like that.
Before heading to the woods, I'm gonna go grab a few coconuts as well.
All right. Yeah, there is plenty enough to stuff in your backpack if you wish. But yeah, also you get into the edge of the forest. Do you want to roll a? No, I think it would be obvious enough that there is a path that's been cleared from that you can see. It's a bit hard to spot it, but like it's fairly obvious once your eyes adjust to the lighting conditions that there is seems to be a path where the vegetation has been trampled enough that it doesn't grow as tall as other places. So there is definitely something that's been walking here frequently enough.
All right. As Morthos and Traw, are you guys following behind me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just went over to grab a few coconuts first.
I'll pick up a fistful of dirt and let it slide through my fingers to make it look like I know what I'm doing, and then I'll say, "There's a path. We should see if this leads somewhere."
I just sit there and look over where he's at because I've got dark vision, and it's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's fairly clear to you who can see in the dark that he doesn't really know what he's talking about, but he sounds confident enough at least.
I'm just sitting there kind of laughing and shaking my head, going, lead on, fearless lead.
All right, what do we find down this path, assuming we're all heading down it?
Well, assuming you don't fall into a cleverly disguised pit somewhere and end up in the underdark, you follow the path for maybe 10 or so minutes, and in the distance, you start seeing lights, faint at first. Then, as you keep walking, they get stronger and stronger, and by the looks of it, they seem to be torchlights as you're approaching. And draw you with your dark vision, you can see clearly before the others that you're approaching a small village.
Yeah, I'll point out the village that's coming up.
All right. Well, is there anything? Does it look like a normal village, or maybe if it's just a normal village, we can just walk up and introduce ourselves, get some directions?
I mean, by the looks of it, from as you're walking towards it, it looks like a normal village.
All right. Yeah, I'll keep approaching.
Yeah, so you approach through the forest, and yeah, as you keep coming closer to it, more and more of it becomes visible through the trees and on the brush. And yeah, the village itself has a fair few houses. It is larger than what you first might have expected, and it's built mainly on the shoreline of where the shore goes in towards cutting in into the land a bit. And yeah, the town itself, or sorry, the village itself, has like I said, a fair few houses to it, and there is a river going across the middle of it, and then the bridges across the river, so two sides of the same town. And yeah, the houses you see, they have thatch roofs and rough hewed timber. Fairly simple construction, all things considered. And the air, as you enter the outskirts of the village, is fairly thick with the smell of the seawater and and the pine resin from the timber itself. And yeah, the forests as you have seen so far are all evergreens. So it has a fairly comforting pine scent to it as well. But yeah, and as you're coming up to it and walking closer to the house, you can see there are small herb gardens outside every house where people are growing their some vegetables, some herbs. There's no livestock that you can see, at least in this area. So there's no chickens or others running around. causing a commotion for you. And like I said, it's late evening, early night, so there isn't a lot of people outside. You can hear as you're coming in into the village proper. You see, there's a couple of market stalls where the merchants are still open, but they seems to be in the process of closing down for the night, as the most of the village isn't really here anymore or outside anymore. So they're either at home sleeping or maybe at the pub. Who knows? But there's maybe 3 or 4 merchants at the village center of it.
All right. Well, a couple of things we may take into account here. The ship we're on is crashed, so we should probably tell somebody about that. Just because. And the other thing is we should probably secure lodging for the night. We should have at least enough coin to do that much, at least. You guys have any other thoughts?
No, I mean, aside from, we didn't find out the name of the village, did we?
I don't think we've asked yet. We're just discussing things at the entrance to the village.
And we should probably find out where exactly we are. I mean, I guess we can do that after we get a room and go to the inn and warm up.
Yep. Any area of the town that looks like it may hold travelers, if we can find something like that.
Yeah, so you look from where you're standing at, like I said, at the quote unquote entrance of the town. You have the city or the town center, basically, the village center, where you have the marketplace, and then you have a larger building, a larger 2-story building beyond that on the other side of the river across the bridge. And there is, like I said, a 2-story building that has a tankard and a boot as a sign, gently swinging in the wind. So that's something you see, and there is a lot of torches outside here. So the area is well lit, even the moonlight itself is casting, light as well, so you can see fairly well here. And you hear the waves hitting the shore as well. And as you look at the inlet of the river, you see there are a couple of bridges where boats have been tied up to the bridges. So there is probably a fair bit of fishing going on here as well.
All right, so yeah, if all three of us enter this this establishment, then I suppose I'll be the one meeting whoever greets us. And if we walk into the building, depending on what I see around.
Yeah, so you all make your way to the inn, and as you open the door, you hear this. As you're putting your hand on the door before you open it, you hear like the faint sound of music from the inside, and you feel There is a smell to the air of cooked food being prepared, or cooking rather. So there's definitely something going on inside. And yeah, you open the door, and the room, the large cabin room inside, is fairly well lit with torches from sconces lining the wall, and a couple mounted on the pillar as well. And there is maybe 20 or 30 individuals sitting at the bar and at various tables, having an evening meal and an evening drink. And there is a woman standing on a raised dais in the corner, playing a harp and singing a fairly somber tune, setting the dampened atmosphere to the inn. But yeah, there are a couple of tables free, empty, that you can see as well, so there are room to sit here.
All right. Well, I'll probably meet up with whoever looks to be the proprietor of the establishment, and start by greeting him.
Yeah, there is two people behind the bar counter. It's both human, one man and a woman. The man is standing closer to the door, and the woman is going back into the back room, grabbing some bottles, and then replacing the empty ones on the shelf behind them.
Yeah,
And it's just go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'll walk up to the counter and sort of tip the hat that I have and say, "Greetings, me and my travelers, my friends here. We've been shipwrecked just off the coast here, and we would like to get an idea of our whereabouts and maybe rent a few rooms for the night."
And yeah, the man is about, what would it be, like 190 tall, fairly, a fair bit of muscle on him. Short cropped black hair, goatee, steely gray eyes, fairly light skin color. He looks at you up and down, notice how soaked you are, and looks over at the two behind you. And as you're saying this, a couple of other patrons that's sitting at the bar looks over at you, gives you a glance as well, wondering what the hell is going on. And he says, the bartender says, "Rooms we can do. We have a couple of spares." But what is this about being shipwrecked? When did this happen? Where?
I believe last night we followed a path to this village from the beach. The wreck is probably visible from the coast near this village.
And yeah, he looks over to a couple of people at the bar who are looking at all the three of you, and he gives them a nod, and the three of them just finish downing the tankards, slamming them on the bar counter, and get up and start marching towards the exit. And you see, just before they go out, they grab a couple of cloaks from pegs by the door. And yeah, the bartender says, they'll go have a look. It's not often we get ships up here this far north.
Is there any chance I could do an insight roll here to see if there's any shiftiness that I wouldn't normally expect in this situation?
Sure. From what you can tell, they seem to be above board.
All right.
Yeah, and the bartender says, go, I see you're soaking wet. Go sit by the hearth and I'll get something for you to eat if you haven't eaten anything already. Will take them a while to have a look over there.
All right,
Please.
very good.
Warm yourselves.
What is their reaction to seeing a tiefling?
Restrained curiosity, I think, would be the proper way. Same thing seeing a dwarf. As far as you can tell, there are only humans in this room. So there might be a half-elf hiding somewhere as well. You're not entirely certain. Like, you get curious glances, but no one is making a scene of making a spectacle of it. Same thing seeing a dwarf.
I just know there's some people who aren't too fond of tieflings. And I wasn't sure if this would be random village, if they'd be so welcoming to me.
So, some of the backstory for that all of you know, whether you know how true it actually is, it's hard to tell because it's been so long since. But in the past age, when the dragon god reigned in these lands, there was a lot of cultists doing some pretty god awful shit, like human sacrifices, living sacrifices to the dragon god and such. So dragonborns are the most have the biggest prejudice against them. Tieflings, it really depends on village to village, and how much interactions they've had with tieflings in the past. But universally, like, dragonborns are the ones that always gonna get people scorn wherever they go, no matter what, because of what the old dragon god did and the amount of chaos and destruction that they spread when they were alive. But yeah, you all take a seat by the hearth and get warmed up, and there's some ale and some food brought to you at the table you're sitting at. And as you're just warming yourself up a bit, the bartender comes over to you as well, and he says, "We have 3 rooms available for you if you need them."
All right, that is quite generous of you. We'll be sure to pay you for your patronage, or for your what's the opposite of patronage? I'm blanking on the word right now.
I mean, you could just say generosity.
Generosity. There we go. That's the word. Yeah, thank you for your generosity.
He just nods at you and says, "It's not often we get travelers here. Like I said, most ships doesn't travel this far up, and if you are shipwrecked, as you say, and by the looks of how soaked you are, you're either telling the truth or you were dumb enough to swim here. Either way, you would probably be dead by morning if you hadn't found shelter.
I'm gonna kind of look at him when he said, swim, and I just kind of say, "Does it look like I can?"
And he just chuckles at that and says, "Probably not, but you never know with people these days."
Where is here exactly?
And at that, he looks a bit taken aback by that. And he says, "This village is called Harrowshire. Where, were you trying to go to, if I may ask?" And all of you were traveling to were originally going to Cinderport.
That's right. Oh yeah, I'll answer them. I'll say yes. We were booking passage to Cinderport, and before the shipwrecked.
Yeah, that's when you say that, he raises an eyebrow and scratches his head. Says, "Let me grab a map." And then he walks back towards the bar counter, and you see him have a conversation with the woman. And the woman goes in the back room and rummaging around for something. And in the corner, there's a general murmur in the room, like people, the usual thing, like having a quiet conversation as they're eating and drinking. And some are listening to the woman in the corner playing her harp and singing. And is playing a bit, still the same theme to the music, so very somber, very muted. It's more atmospheric than than anything that's trying to get your attention, really. So it's a nice background music, even though it might be a bit on the sad side of things. And yeah, as the bartender is standing by the bar counter, and you all hear the door open, front door open, and you see one of the men who walked out earlier come back in, still with his cloak on, and with hurried step walk out to the bartender, and they seem to have a short conversation. And the bartender uh, raises his voice to get everyone to quiet down, and he says, "Everyone, listen. A ship has hit reefs south of here. There are apparently wounded on the shore. We need people to help rescue those in need." And at that, most of the bar people, the patrons in the bar, stands up and start finishing their drink, taking a last bite of their meal. And yeah, the guy who came back starts walking towards the door and says, I'll show you the way. I know where it is. And you see most of the people in the bar start walking out, getting their clothes, their cold weather clothing, and then start walking out. And yeah, it's takes a bit of time for all of them to file out. But at the end of it, it's maybe a handful of people, ourselves included, in the bar. And the woman on the stage is still playing, starting up a new song again, and starts singing. And I think this would be fairly well known. So, or let me ask you this then: are any of you religious or believes in the God?
I'll say my character is sort of like religious by tradition. So I don't know, which pantheons you have set up in this system, but I envision my character as being the type of guy where if he wanted a bit of luck from one god because he has like an upcoming, event that pertains to this god, then he might go to that shrine and throw some money in. Like he makes all the gestures that you would expect someone raised in the common religions to make, but he's not deeply religious himself.
All right. Yeah, casual. I was asking, so we could drop that for a moment, if your character happened to be religious, or if it's just paying lip service to it.
It's more towards like the ancestors and those that have come before.
All right.
Does the Raven Queen count as a god?
I do believe that's the pantheon of death. So yeah,
Because she's okay, so she's kind of tied to my character subclass, so I guess that makes me religious.
Yeah, in some capacity at least. Yeah, then you would absolutely know the song that she's playing and singing. It's one of the more common funeral hymns, and a dedication to the Raven, or beseeching the Raven Queen to watch over the newly departed. It seems a bit odd to play at a tavern like this, but people are a bit strange in general. But yeah, the bartender comes over to you, to all of you again, and you're all sitting there eating and drinking, just warming up. And he says, yeah, he says, we'll have they will go look for survivors, see if we can salvage anything from the ship. And he puts down the map on the table, and he says, and he points at one area of the map that, and you see that's where Cinderport is located. And then he points at another place way up north, and it's about maybe a week's travel. And he says that this is where we are right now, as far as I know. So if you were going down here to Cinderport, then I would ask what your captain had been drinking and the navigator had been drinking when they set out, because you are nowhere near where you were going.
Well, that's what we get for booking cheap passage. You have no idea. I'm not a seaman myself, so I just assumed the captain was taking us to Cinderport. Not sure how we ended up here.
Like I said, we don't get many ships up here. There is really nothing of value here other than the timber. But I would assume you can get that anywhere else.
Seems our captain was being less than honest to us.
Or less than sober. Have you ever drunk yourself into the wrong hemisphere?
Apparently, we just did.
Or our captain was secretly a slaver and was taking us to be sold somewhere. Unknowing.
Maybe. It does seem odd. If I were, if I were involved in such a profession, I probably would have chosen different people to enslave, but who knows what he had in store for us.
I mean, we wouldn't have known where we were going. Once we finally got there, they could have had people there waiting to outnumber us. Never know.
Well,
Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
oh yeah. As it stands, I think we should, they'll probably have the beach scouted by morning, or at least the afternoon tomorrow, and after that, I guess we could find something to do around here, or maybe move to somewhere with maybe more somewhere toward Cinderport. Maybe go ahead and get on the road. What do you guys think?
The map you're looking at has one town about a day out from here. Let's see. Yeah, so it would be to the southwest of where you currently are, and that town is called Harrows. And by the looks of it, it's a bit of a larger town than this. That this is more of a village, and that's actually a town. So chances are you could, find something there.
How often do wagons come through here?
Bartender says we haven't had any wagons for the past 2 weeks. No, we had a merchant, one of the store owners, who went to Arrows a few days ago, but we haven't heard anything from him since.
Have you had any trouble on the roads lately?
With all the things that are going on in this forest, hard to say. We don't have enough people to scout. We don't have enough people to hunt anything too dangerous. I know there are some wolves. You can hear them sometimes. I know there are some bears outside as well. Beyond that, we haven't really seen anything else, as far as I know. Usually they leave us alone. So the wolves tend to try to take the chickens. We keep those inside for the most part.
If we travel to Harrow on foot, How far of a journey is it? Would it take more than 1 day, you think?
We don't have any horses in this town, so it would take you. If you start traveling in the morning, you'll be there by late afternoon. Unless you're running, of course, and you'll be there a bit earlier.
Okay, well that's good news. If there's an wild animal problem around here, then I wouldn't want to be caught sleeping in the woods. Yeah, so what do you guys think? You have any thoughts about all of this?
Yeah, let's get a decent night.
And the bartender rolls up the map again, goes back to the bar counter, and grabs. You see him pick up a pitcher and a couple of small knickknacks on the counter. Comes back to the table, puts down the pitcher, and then lays 3 keys on the table for you and says, "Your rooms are upstairs. All right, and stay for the night."
All right. Well, I bid you good night, and I wish you luck on you and the rest of the village luck on surveying the beach, and I'll make my way upstairs.
Yeah, he wishes you a good night as you start heading upstairs.
Yeah, I'm gonna head upstairs and go pass out for the night.
I'm gonna go sit by the fire and make sure I'm fully dry before I. Then once I'm dry, I'm gonna tip the singer, and then I'll head to bed.
All right. Yeah. So, can you roll me a perception check as you walking towards the stage? Yeah, with your trained eyes, it is obvious to you that this woman is a half elf. By the way she looks. But she doesn't have the traditional Sylvan accent in her speech, so chances are that she grew up here in this village or in a human village and hasn't really spent any time with her elven side of her family. And she gives you, like, she keeps singing and playing as you leave some coin. And you see, she gives you a curious glance when she notices that you're a tiefling, but smiles at you when you put down the coin, and gives you a nod as she keeps playing and singing. And yeah, in your rooms, all of the rooms that you have, it's a small bed, and then there are a wood. What is it called? A wooden stove inside, like a wooden heater. Never remember what the word is for it. But
Yeah.
basically, yeah, when you basically, the when you go camping, You have the wood fire stoves to just heat up the tent, like that's that kind of thing you have inside
Yeah.
each room.
Yeah, I think what I'll do when I go into this room, I'm picturing a room that has like one window and one door. Is that about accurate?
Yeah, it's one window and one door on the opposite side. And it's a fairly small room, so it's basically a bed, a couple of pegs on the wall to hang your belongings, and then the wood fire heater with a chimney going through the ceiling.
Yep. As a trained assassin, my normal ritual in a situation like this is to just make sure that the window is secured, if possible. And normally I would rig some sort of alarm on the door, but I have no such device for that at the moment. So what I'll do is I'll prop my crowbar against the door so that if it opens, it'll make a little bit of a racket. And that's what I'll do before I hang up my belongings and go to bed for the night.
All right. Yeah, and each of the windows have shutters as well that have been closed already because of the storm. So under normal circumstances, you would open the window first and then open the shutters to see inside. And then there is a small, what would it be, like a tallow candle, I think, in each room, as well as the wooden stove. For extra lights. So all of you have your individual rooms and rest for the night if you wish. So, is there anything specific you want to do before going the other two? Is there anything specific you want to do before bed, or are you just hitting, getting undressed and falling asleep?
I'm propping my shield up, like pretty much under the handle, so that way it'll, kind of lodge if somebody tries to force the door open, and then
All right. Yeah, all of the doors have locks, so you can lock the door from the inside. Well,
I still don't trust it.
probably a good thing. All right, so you all fall asleep, and yeah, just as you drift off into to the land of slumber, you can faintly hear from below um, the singer still playing the harp and singing you all to sleep. And I think yeah, can someone brave enough roll me a D100, please? Excellent. All right. So I think y'all wake up next morning, tired, a bit sore from the previous day, previous evening even. But yeah, you're all alive. You're all maybe slightly bruised from the shipwreck. And as far as you can tell, no one has been inside messing with your rooms. And your clothes have all dried.
All right. Yeah, I'll probably, once I wake up, probably make my way downstairs and see if there's any progress on, if there's any talk of survivors on the beach or salvaged wreckage or anything like that.
Yes, you make your way downstairs. What are the other two doing? Are you doing the same, or are you sleeping in?
I'll get up and head down to the beach to see if I can help with anything.
All right. Yeah, as you enter the common room again, all of you, you see a lot of the people who have been, who were sitting here last night when you entered, are sitting here again. And they all look pretty much exhausted, tired, cold, probably as well. Most of them are sitting closer to the hearth than they would normally do. And yeah, the bartender gives you all a nod and says, "We have some breakfast if you need, if you want, before you head out." We found a handful of survivors on the beach. We are still salvaging what we can from the wreck, but there is at least people alive.
All right. Are there any members of like the regular sailing crew, like not passengers, that seem to be around?
There is one who is sitting down in that you just, when you're looking around, there's one sitting by the table, has a slight tremble to him, to his movements, sitting down and eating something.
Yeah.
Trod, you realize that this is the deckhand you saved earlier, that you helped save with your medicine roll.
Okay.
That is sitting in the corner, having something warm to eat.
Yeah, I think I'll try talk to him. I'll probably sit down near him and ask, "Hey, I recognize you from the beach. Are you feeling any better?"
He looks startled at you as you start talking to him. It says, "I survived somehow. I didn't expect it. Maybe the gods were finally smiling on us."
Yeah, that seems to be the case. I do have some questions for you, if you don't mind. It appears that we are quite some distance from Cinderport. Do you know if the captain had some sort of detour planned?
He thinks for a moment while he's chewing on some vegetables. So, Morpheus, what are the two of you doing as Otto is interrogating this crew head again?
I'm probably eating and looking around to see if I see the singer this morning or if she's gone.
Yeah, she isn't there right now. Or are you staying in at the inn as well, having breakfast, or did you just immediately head out after you realized that one of the deckhands were, that the deckhand you saved sitting in the corner that Otto is talking to?
Well, I kind of saw him, but I was going to walk up and ask for something that I could take with me down to the beach to see if I could help.
Sorry, you cut out there for a bit. I heard take down to the beach.
Yeah, so I was going to walk up and ask for something to eat on the way down to the beach to go see if I could help out.
All right. Yeah, so one of the woman you saw helping tending to the bar yesterday grabs like a pouch or something, and he just hands it to you and says, as far as I can tell, the people down there are almost done. We're salvaging what we can, but I'm sure they would appreciate your help. And yeah, as you open the pouch, it's essentially hardtack, jerky, and some hard cheese in it.
Okay, yeah, I'll take that and start following the path back down to the beach to go offer my aid.
All right. Yeah, as you step out, wind has abated quite a lot, so it's a gentle breeze instead of the rushing storm that it was before. It's still fairly cold, but at least it's not raining. It's just very cloudy right now. It's early in the morning, and you see there is a few people out and about in the village center, but yeah, there is not nearly enough activity here for this size of village. So chances are they're all at the beach helping out. And yeah, you see, as you start walking across the bridge towards the entrance of the town you came in last night, you see down by the shoreline there is a couple of boats, fishing boats, that's rowing towards the bridge. They have a bunch of crates and other miscellaneous items on it loaded on. So they've probably been salvaging stuff by the wreck as well.
Okay, can I see them? Can I see where they're going to pull in at?
Yeah, so let's see if I can draw this, like do a super rough drawing of this. Yeah, so do you see what I've been drawing underneath your tokens now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the square bit there, that's pretty much the inn, and then the two lines going out to the right there are the big pier, larger piers where the fishing boats have docked, and then the line going straight downwards is the bridge across the river there. Yeah, you can. Yeah, there is one boat already anchored on or docked at one of the bridges, unloading some stuff, and then the other one is rowing towards the other bridge or uh, dock that is to unload some of the stuff they have. And you see there are some people standing on the pier, ready to help offload the fishing boats with the supplies they have grabbed from the ship.
So I'll actually I'll make my way over there and ask them if they need help getting the stuff on.
Yeah, one of them looks like one of the villagers you saw it in yesterday. It says, "A helping hand is always appreciated." And then he, after saying that, he takes a closer look at you and realizes that you're in fact a dwarf. And he says, "I haven't seen your kind here before, but we take all help we can get in these trying times."
Well, normally dwarves don't get on boats, so not surprising.
Fair enough. And he jumps into the boat again, started lifting some crates and lifting them on the shore or onto the pier. And yeah, you spend some time helping out offloading. And yeah, from what you can tell by the crates, is there anything specific you're looking for, cargo wise, or are you just helping out?
Just kind of helping out and taking a look and seeing generally what it is. If it's just like general supplies, or if it's something that wasn't quite supposed to be in there in the first.
Well, you can always roll a perception check if you wish to see if there is anything specific. But from just cursory glance as you're handling the crates, it seems that that's pretty good. But yeah, from a cursory glance, as you're helping lifting the crates, it seems to be just general trade goods. At least what they have managed to salvage so far. And I think, it's one of the deckhands that's in the fishing boats offloads one of the last few, I think, barrels. Yeah, no, one of the last few crates. And it sets it down on the dock with a heavy thud, and you're walking towards it to pick it up. You hear there is something different about the sound of this crate as it's being heavily set down on the dock. But there's definitely a different sound to it. Sounds like it's hollow in some way. But when you lift it up, it seems fairly heavy.
I'm gonna pop the lid open.
Right. Yes, you pop the lid open, and it seems to be. And you look around inside, and it seems to be just clothing and textile stuff inside. As you move stuff around and look inside, that's what it seems to be, at least.
Okay, I'll set that one aside and then go through it better later.
All right. Yeah, so you just move that to the side and help with the last few crates. And the villager who was standing in the boat, putting stuff on the pier, says, "Are you coming with back to the shipwreck or are you staying here waiting for us to come back?"
I'll sit down and wait for the next boat to come in.
All right. And then he raises his voice again and shouts to the others on the dock and says, "We're empty. We're going back." And you see a handful of others putting down putting down what they're carrying and then jogging back to the boat and jumping in. Yeah, a few minutes later, the boat loses its moorings and start rowing out towards the shipwreck again. And yeah, there is maybe 2 or 3 people still stacking the crates at the start of the pier, but you're standing towards the end of it with that seemingly weird textile crate.
So I'm going to actually, while we're waiting, take that crate back to the inn, so that way I could kind of look through it in a bit more.
All right. Yeah, so you start carrying it back. Are you gonna carry it up to your room or just hang out in the common area with it?
Well, common area for now, and then when the other 2 actually, I could get their attention and point out, hey, there might be something different in this crate. We'll try and look through.
All right. All right. So while you're doing that, Otto, the deckhand says, as far as I know, the captain just told us we were taking a shortcut to avoid the storm.
Alright,
He never mentioned anything about docking anywhere else, making port anywhere other than in the port.
Can I get an insight check on this guy?
Absolutely. He seems to be above board.
Alright. Yeah, so I'll just sort of nod along with him, and I'll say, okay. Yeah, I was just asking because the locals, they seemed to be kind of confused as to how a ship ended out this far. I don't know anything about seamanship myself, but maybe he was avoiding a storm, or maybe something else was going on, but who knows. At any rate, I'm glad at least some people made it.
This is the first time I sailed with this captain. I'd assume he didn't tell me anything I need to know. But I agree, it makes no sense to travel here. Then again, I don't know the waters around these parts, so I can't really say. I know there are some reefs, but I don't know how extensive they are. Good fishing, though, and he gestures appreciatingly to with the spoon, eating his fish to the bartender.
Yep, there are definitely worse places to get shipwrecked, I think. Yep, so I probably have like a breakfast with them and make small talk, and if there's nothing else, then I'll probably excuse myself and look for my my companions to see if we can head out or find something to do around here.
Yeah, as you get up, you see Morpheus hanging out, having some breakfast himself, sitting, just looking around. And Morpheus, were you doing anything else? Or were you just listening into the conversation Otto was having?
I was just listening.
Alright. Yeah, you see also finishing the conversation after finishing and eating as well. You see him stand up, look at you. And I think the both of you see Thor or Frost coming in through the door with carrying a crate. Preceded by the clanking of his armor.
So I'll walk in with the crate. Go. This one was much, was different than the rest of just the regular supplies. Maybe y'all could help me look at this and see what's actually in.
Alright, and what type of crate is it? Is it like a heavy-duty lockbox looking thing?
So, At first glance, it appears to be a slightly larger than average wooden shipping crate. Fully enclosed crate. So unlike the coconut crate you found earlier that had a couple of holes in it here and there.
Okay, so I think I'm going to give this thing a look over just to make sure there's nothing shifty about it, no wires out of place or anything. Let me look for what I could potentially do here.
I mean, I'm guessing it would just be an investigation check, right?
That sounds like the appropriate skill.
All right, I'll give it an investigation. I may need to look it up for a refresher, but I think the way this works, assuming there's a trap involved here, normally I think it's an investigation to find the trap, unless it's a particular other type of trap that might require another skill, but I think it's usually investigation, and then that's just to find out the trap is there, and then to disarm it, I would roll my thieves' tools skill. But anyway, yeah, go ahead if I find anything.
I'm just sitting there going, it looks like a bloody chest.
Yeah, so from what you can tell, it doesn't seem to be trapped by anything specific.
All right, then I'll take out my trusty crowbar and break it open Half-Life 2 style.
I already had it open down on the docks. You didn't need to crash it, damn it.
Oh, I was misunderstanding the situation then. Yeah, if it's already open, then there's then I just I was being way overly cautious. So yeah, I'll crack it open after filling up every square inch of the box.
Yeah, so you remove all the clothing and textile items in it to better aid your investigation. And yeah, you keep poking around on the inside of it, and yes, whoever of you happen to tap on the bottom of the crate, you hear that hollow sound again that Troll first noticed when he was putting down the crate.
Is it like maybe a hidden compartment of some sort?
Now you could use your bloody crowbar.
Yeah, I'll try to crowbar into this part of the box, prying up the planks as not trying to completely destroy it, but trying to get in there if I can.
All right. Yeah, it takes a bit of elbow grease, but you yeah, because there is no risk of failing this other than just making a complete. So let me ask you this then: are you trying to be stealthy about this, or are you being super obvious that you're taking apart this crate? Because you're, yeah.
Oh, I mean, I see no reason to hide it. I mean, I'm assuming, I'm picturing that the crate is we're all like sort of surrounding the crate. Is that what's going on here?
Yeah, that's how I'm imagining it as well, and the fact that there is a lot of articles of clothing and just bolt of cloth, usually like rough linen cloth and burlap, like rolls of that was in the crate that all of you have like taken out and put on the table next to where you're sitting around this crate or standing around this crate. So there is no seeing as you're not trying to be stealthy about this. There is no risk of you failing this, so you don't have to roll for it. It just takes a bit of time to get a crowbar inside there, and then bend the bottom plate up. And yeah, there is there is a false bottom to this crate that had a fair bit of space underneath the false bottom there.
All right, I'll definitely be taking a look at that. Hopefully, finding some more coconuts.
It's not a coconut-rich environment in this particular compartment.
Just random question. Are we even in a climate for fucking coconut?
No.
Yeah, that's why they're so valuable.
Okay, I just wanted to clear that question because I was just sitting there thinking, I was like, by the sounds of what we're up in, like, Greenland type area. Jeez.
I mean, I've listened to the Bard songs. I know about people that get shipwrecked. They survive on coconuts. That's all I need to know.
I mean, you can't really argue with that logic.
But yeah, do we find anything in this false bottom, or does it look empty?
Yes. You find a beholder that is looking at you.
All right.
Well, good game. Nice talking to y'all.
So what you actually find is you find a small iron lockbox with a fairly sturdy padlock on it.
Oh my god, it's like a Matryoshka doll. Alright, so I'm going to take out this lockbox, and it's about how big is it, do you think?
I don't know the sizes from the top of my head, but let's say you can fit a loaf of bread inside.
Okay. Yeah, so
however big that is, that's the size of it on the inside of this lockbox, and then obviously it's a bit bigger on the outside to accommodate for the material.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll remove this lockbox, and I'll place it on a table with a stool, so I can get to it more easily, and I'll just start to examine it with everybody presumably looking over my shoulder or doing whatever else they want to do. Is there anything that immediately strikes me about this box? Like, is it covered in symbols or anything like that?
No, it's just a plain-looking iron lockbox with a padlock on it.
All right. So, can I roll investigation on this to see if there's anything that, again, anything that might jump out at me or blow up or anything like that?
Sure. You're 100% convinced this is not physically trapped in any way.
All right. In that case, I'll of course try to open it to see if it's already open, because I don't want to pick a lock that's already open, and I assume it's locked tied up, right?
It is locked.
All right. I actually remember reading one story of a DM that had a guy where he picked a lock and then locked it, but it was originally unlocked. So I just think that's funny, but I'll go ahead and roll Thieves' Tools to try and pick it if I can do that.
Yeah, that's definitely something I would do, honestly, and I think I've even done that with a couple of doors in at least one campaign.
It based it off of strength. I don't know. Okay, here's how I modify that. It's technically supposed to be dex, so that I believe would be That would be an 8 instead of a 7, but I doubt that makes much of a difference.
Yeah, no, the lock is still being locked.
All right, yeah. So I fiddle with it for a little while, and you guys are free to do whatever else while I mess with that.
Morphos, as Ocho is messing around with this lockbox, you see the half elven woman from the night before come into the common rooms, and she sits down by the bar counter, and the woman who were attending the bar serves her food and drink.
Well, while he messes with the lockbox, I'm gonna go over to the bar and tell her I enjoyed her singing and ask what her name is and what she's doing in this area.
Yeah, she smiles at you, and you give her that compliment. Says, "My name is Elia, and I live here. My parents." And I just sing here at the inn for extra corn.
It's not really the area I expected to see a half of. Have you lived your whole life?
Yeah, I was born here some time ago. I think 20 winters, maybe. Sure. What are you doing while you see watching Otto failing miserably to unlock this padlock, and you see Morphos walk over to the singer sitting at the bar?
I'm gonna go get a drink and sit down and continue to laugh at the failed attempts to pick a.
That's probably a good strategy. Yeah, you get a strong drink, and yeah. Are you just sitting by the bar watching this, or do you go grab the drink and then come back to the table?
I'm gonna grab the drink and come back to the table.
All right.
But then if it takes too long, I'll end up, try taking the crowbar to it and, basically pummeling the shit out of it to get it to come off.
All right. Yeah, you watch Otto spend a good amount of time on it, but he doesn't seem to be able to make any progress on it. He doesn't break the lockpicks or anything like that, but yeah, it's obvious that he can't really figure out how to unlock it.
All right, so what I'm gonna do is grab the crowbar that's out and try and break the lock.
All right. That to me sounds like a strength check waiting to happen. Yeah, you put the crowbar in as much as you can and start wrenching the lock. They're still sitting there, but it's definitely, you can definitely see the metal start stretching a bit. So you're making progress on it, but you're not quite there yet. But there is definitely metal fatigue on a couple of parts of both the lock and the chest itself.
All right, so I'll give it one more brief on the crowbar to see if I could finish making it.
Yeah, you put some extra strength in it, and with one mighty shove of the crowbar, you manage to wrench open the lock. It makes a fair bit of ruckus, and as the tortured metal is giving way to the brute force of the crowbar, and the lock tumbles to the broken lock tumbles to the floor, and the chest is now unlocked. And the crowbar seems to have some structural integrity issues as well, but it seems to be holding for now.
I'll kind of toss it back to Otto and, say, yeah, I'll get it fixed next time we find a black. Let's see what's in this box. I'm going to open the lid and see what's in there.
All right. All right. That is a lot of stuff and things. Let me have a look at this table real quick.
It's gonna be funny if this table generates like an elephant or something like that.
You ain't too far off, honestly.
It's a magic box of holding.
He was smuggling a whole zoo to Cinderport.
All right. So what you find is a large. Actually, no, it's even large. It's a handful of palm-sized metal cylinders with that seems to be has a screw lock, a screw top on it. That it seems to be the metal itself seems to have been melted in at least one place to make sure the lock is the top is secure. You find a handful of those scroll cases. You find a pouch, a fairly heavy pouch, and you find three small flasks, glass vials with a reddish, cloudish liquid inside.
Okay then. Gonna look over at Otto and you know what any of this shit is?
Let's see. Is there anything I can? Do I immediately recognize it, or is there anything I could roll to try and identify any of it?
What would you think makes you able to just identify this just by looking at it?
I mean, I have no idea what it is, but if it's just completely strange, then you know, we could just pack it away, or I could try to roll Arcana or Medicine or something like that to figure out what this stuff is.
I mean, if you need a hand with it, you can always call me over. I've also got Arcana.
Yeah, I'm having a look through the skill section because still trying to figure out what all of these skills does, and it's like page 160, I think. For the various skills, Arcana, you say? Yeah, so it would be Arcana, because it's measures your ability to recall lore about spells, magical items, eldritch symbols, magical tradition, planes of existence, and the inhabitants of those planes, like stuff like that. So yeah, it would be an Arcana.
All right.
Right. So you know that the three glass vials with the red cloudish liquid are lesser healing potions.
Ah, okay. So yeah, I'll grab those and sort of hold them up to the light, and then I'll say, "Yep, these look like lesser potions of healing. I guess we can split it 3 ways."
Sounds good.
All right. Anything else of note that I find in this box?
So just what I said, handful of scroll iron scroll cases with the screw top that has been essentially wax sealed, but melted metal instead of wax to secure them to remain unopened.
All right.
And then the pouch, the heavy pouch.
So I guess I'll search the heavy pouch next.
Yeah, so the healing potions are 2d4 plus 2 healing. So write that down. Yeah, so the pouch itself contains 50 gold and a ruby ring. Where it's a golden ring, like plain unadorned golden ring with a ruby square or a cubic shaped ruby gemstone inset at the top of it.
All right. So we can each get what would this be? Yeah, we can each get 16 gold, and then I guess we can either have someone keep like the stuff that we sell later, or we can rock paper scissors for who gets 2 extra gold in the ruby ring. What do you guys think?
Well, at this point, I'll kind of, try and get Mortho's attention and bring him over for the conversation.
Yeah, Morphos, where were you? Was there anything specific you wanted with this interaction with the singer from last night? Or were you just small talk?
Just small talk.
Alright.
So when I hear him call, I'll excuse myself and go see what's up.
Yeah, she gives you a polite nod and gets back to eating your breakfast. And yeah, you walk over and you see you notice a couple of things. So first of all, you notice the lockbox is open. You notice the padlock is broken in 2 pieces on the floor. And you see the crowbar has a couple of dents in it. And yeah, you see what they have been putting on the table for you.
So yeah, we can each split the majority of this gold. We can each get 16. There will be 2 left over, as well as this ring. So we could all basically do rock paper scissors, which in game, I guess we could each roll like a d6 and see who gets the highest. Or we can decide on a person who just keeps the party loot in general. What do you guys think?
Or some of this could go towards.
Go towards what?
The townspeople that helped basically are out there busting their ass to salvage what's left of the.
I mean, I'm assuming they're going to keep most of the salvage they find already.
Well, what's not waterlogged, probably. Actually, that is a good question. About how much gold worth are the town getting from the wreck ship?
That is an interesting question. Because it really would depend on a number of things. So for the most part, cargo, the crates on the ship were unopened and unbroken. And I don't think you ever saw a cargo manifest. So it's hard to estimate until you have opened every crate or seen a cargo manifest. And then figured out what like how much of it you have to scrap. The wood itself is next to worthless because it's a village in the middle of or surrounded by forest. That isn't water, so they can get as much wood as they want.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
So-
think. Yeah, like I know there's people out there looking for survivors, but I don't think this shipwreck has really damaged the town in any way, from what I can imagine. In fact, there are even towns that will set up fake beacons to encourage shipwrecks so they can grab the little bits of cargo and stuff that fall out. So I can't imagine that it's harmed their industry here or anything like that.
Like I said, it's an abstract thing because for me, as a GM, I haven't really, or a DM, I haven't really figured out what was on the cargo ship, like what they actually were hauling in cargo, and how much of that, in turn, have been damaged beyond, salvage.
Okay.
But-
No, that was
but-
just a curiosity. I was just wondering if you had a vague idea.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say there's probably maybe 100 gold worth of cargo that they managed to salvage in various bits and pieces. You know, a couple of caskets of oil for lamp oil, lantern oil, for example, which is always worth something, especially out here in the middle of nowhere, and a couple of other bits and pieces. So they're still going to be making a profit, even if you keep the stuff you found for yourself.
All right, then. Yeah, we'll split it amongst ourselves of what we got from the lockbox.
Yep. So that means we can all get 16 gold, and if you want, I can basically go into the back of my character sheet and I can start like a party loot of all the stuff that we sort of, the rounded off gold, as well as any stuff we need to sell, and we can just keep that as a party fund. Or we can do rock, paper, scissors. I'm good with either.
I say we just collective pool it.
Well, there is a new handout to Roll20, so you can write the party stuff down.
Alright, so party loot is 2 gold, and what was it was called Ruby Ring? Was there anything more to it?
Yeah, it was a golden ruby ring. A plain golden ring with a ruby gemstone.
And then the scroll cases.
Yeah, so there are 6 of them total. 6 of the magic iron scroll cases.
Yep. I will examine those as long as it's a plain iron case and there doesn't seem to be anything strange about it, like no symbols or labels. If that's the case, then I'll just go ahead and start opening them up.
Alright, are you gonna do that here in the common room?
It's us in the common room, the elf woman. Is there anyone else in here?
Yeah, the woman bartender, and then there's at this point there's probably a couple of other patrons that have filtered in having breakfast, coming back from waiting for the boats to come back to salvage, so they're taking a quick meal.
Okay. Well, maybe we should, head outside, put this box somewhere, this destroyed box, and I don't think we have any more use for it. And we can go ahead and crack open these scrolls and see if there's anything written there, whether they're magic or it's just info.
I would almost say take them up to a room and look that way instead of outside.
Yep, we can do that. Take it up to one of our rooms.
Alright. Yeah, do you all head up and hang out in the same room as you're looking through these, or?
Yeah, I think that's what we'll do. We'll head up, I guess, to my room, and we'll just read using the window light, and I'll crack them open. Again, I'm imagining they're just plain iron scroll casings, and there's no symbols or labels, and there's just a wax seal. And if that's the case, then I'll just start opening them.
No, so like I said, it's essentially a wax seal, but instead of wax, it's metal. So it's basically someone has melted a piece of iron, and they just pour that on top of the scroll case where the top is, and the scroll case itself is, and then just stamped a wax seal on it.
Okay.
In metal, so like it would require a pretty significant strength check to break that open.
All right. Well, who here has impressive strength?
Certainly not me.
I've got 15.
Yep, it's probably you then. Although I think we have the same bonus technically, so.
Yeah, you try to twist the cap of one of them, but it's not budging at all. It's seems to be holding strong. Unfortunately, with the one you're trying.
All right. Well, we can stash those away, and we can probably go ahead and make our way to Harrow, the town, as long as we have enough daylight left, and figure out things from there. I don't think there's much we can do here. The main issues they have here are animal related, and I don't think any of us have skills that would be that would not get us lost. And you know, I don't think any of us are very good with animals. But you guys can, you know, any suggestions you guys have are welcome as always.
Would smithing tools be able to do anything to those metals?
Give me just 1 second. I'll have a look.
I don't know if the smith in this town, even if there is, I can't remember. I don't know what the population of this town, of this village is exactly. So they may not even have like a dedicated smith. But even if they have a smith, we'll probably need a guy that has like a vice and a nice heavy-duty set of tongs. And if the smith here doesn't have that, then the one in town probably will.
Yeah, if you have artisan's tools on you, or the smith's tools rather, then they probably have a chisel or something like that in that that you can use to try to crack open the scroll case.
Okay, then I'm gonna take one to the side and attempt to like chisel up the folded over.
All right. Yeah, so that would be, I do believe.
There's there's tools for the skill kit. So if you have proficiency with artisan's tools, you can roll that to use them. And then in other cases, it may just be a strength check using the chisel. I guess it depends on the situation.
Yeah, so I think this would be a strength check with your proficiency modifier. So whatever your proficiency modifier is on top of your strength roll. Yeah, you take a bit of time getting the chisel to sit snugly against the metal seal, and then you hammer down on the top of the chisel, and you shatter the seal, metal seal of the scroll case with pretty resounding impacts, as you both not only completely dislodge the metal seal, but you also drive the chisel into the table.
I guess that metal wasn't as strong as I thought, and so I'm gonna take a look inside to see what's actually in there.
All right. Yeah, so you open it up and shimmy out the contents of it, and it's a small rolled up piece of parchment. and yeah, you look at it for a bit, trying to make sense of it. But what languages do you speak, by the way?
Common and dwarven. So
Yeah, this scroll doesn't make any sense to you.
okay, then I'll hand it around to see if anybody could read.
Would it happen to be in Infernal?
A good guess, but no, not quite.
Nope. In that case, I can't read it either.
Yeah, I can't read it. I only speak Common and Dwarven. Well, yeah, like I said, we can stash these away and come back to them once we get them to town, or have someone to ask about the language.
All right. Yeah, do you just stash all of them, or do you open them all before you start heading out?
I'm probably honestly going to sit there and kind of open up the rest of them to see if they're still written, if they're all written in the same.
Okay. Yeah, so you take some time, and again, you don't have to roll for the others, because now you know roughly how much brute force you need to apply, and you know you have the right tool as well for it now. So it's just a matter of like how long it takes you to break open each. So I'd say 3 of them are in the same language. Then there is one that, and then the other 3, actually 2 of them makes no sense to you either, but it's written in a different language than the first 3. And the way that it's structured, and the way that it also incorporates diagrams, um, it's hard to tell what it actually is, but it's not written in a language that any of you speak. And then the last one is doesn't make sense. You all understand it as it's written in common. It's just a bit of slog to difficult to read through it because of the way it's written with the handwriting. But yeah, so can all of you who is reading this give me an intelligence check, please? And I'll say you need 15 or better to be able to properly identify what it's actually trying to convey. Okay, so Morphos, you know that the last scroll that is written in common is a recipe for lesser healing potions. It's the alchemical formula and ingredients needed for it.
Neat. I'm going to share that little tidbit with everyone else.
Alright, I think we can put that into party loot. Either do something with it or sell it later. What is it called again?
It was the recipe for lesser healing potions.
Alright.
Yeah, so what you can write is in the party loot handout is 3 scrolls of unknown language, 2 scrolls with unknown symbols and diagrams. So you guys have that. And I can go in and fill in the details later as you discover what it is if you're bothering to investigate it at all.
And that was, just to get the numbers right, 3 scrolls of unknown language and 2 scrolls with symbols and diagrams?
Yes, and the last, the sixth one was the recipe for the lesser healing potion.
All right, yep, I got that.
So that's all the 6 scrolls that you found.
And make sure you guys write down that 16 gold you got as well.
Yep.
Also, I marked down that I tipped the singer 1 gold.
All right. I'll note that she is 1 gold richer than the character sheet. All right, so I think it's roughly around like 8:30 in the morning. So the sun has finally peeked through the cloud briefly and said hello, and then hid again behind another cloud front. So yeah, what do you wish to do now that you have solved this particular mystery?
Well, I'd be all for heading to the main town.
Yeah, I'm down to head over to the bigger city.
All right.
Yeah, but I do need to get some sleep and get moving early.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to set this up so we have a good starting point for next session. So I think
Okay.
this is good as any to end it for tonight. Because the stuff I had planned is going to take a bit longer than a few minutes to deal with later. So yeah, I think we end tonight with all of you packing up your belongings, maybe having a last drink before you set off, one more for the road, and then you start heading out to town. And yeah, there is one main road, dirt road, and then there are smaller like paths that one of which you were walking the night before when you came into the village, but there is one larger that has like cart tracks that leads southwest towards Arrows. So yeah, you all set off, and yeah, I think we can end it there and figure out what happens next time.